One night, a boy was walking home from school, thinking about his day. He was lost in his thoughts when suddenly, out of nowhere, a big truck came speeding towards him. The impact was swift and powerful, but instead of facing death, something strange happened. He found himself in a whole new world. It was nothing like the world he knew. Confused and scared, the boy realized he was in a peculiar world. He wanted to go back home to his mum and dad. He decided to write them a letter, explaining what had happened. In the letter, he told them that a whole year had passed since he arrived in this strange place. At first, he cried a lot and wanted to escape, but then something gave him hope that he could return home. He adapted to this new world, even though it was challenging. He mentioned the battles he had been in, where many people had lost their lives. He talked about trying to do the right thing, even though he didn't know much about it before. He knew his parents might not understand, but he wanted to let them know that he had become stronger and had people who relied on him now. Despite the hardships, he found some positive things too. He had gained a lot from this journey, even though he had also lost a lot. He hoped his parents would somehow know what he was going through, even if he couldn't send a letter. As he faced the final battle against the Demon King, he stopped writing, ready to confront the challenge with determination. With a fierce look on his face, the boy, Kim Min-soo, was determined to defeat the Demon King and go back home. The intense battle ended, and Min-soo emerged victorious. The people of the kingdom celebrated his bravery, and he and his comrades enjoyed a joyful dinner together. The mission was accomplished, but now Min-soo had to say goodbye. After spending a year with his comrades, he realized he had a choice to stay, but he missed his family and friends dearly. So, he decided it was time to return home. The priestess cheered for him, wishing him a blessed life. 3 weeks later, he finally arrived in his hometown Seoul. However, the reality was heartbreaking. The priestess's hope of a gracious and blessed life shattered. Min-soo's arrival didn't bring joy. He discovered that his mother had died in a hit-and-run accident while searching for him. The pain was too much for his father, who blamed himself for not protecting the family. His father had also taken his own life. In the end, Min-soo had saved the world, but couldn't save himself from the heartache that awaited him back home. In the end, Min-soo's father's death became a newspaper headline. His missing persons report was included in the news story. Many people started recognizing him. He was seen visiting his parents' graves, tears pouring from his eyes. The police marked him as a missing teenager, and his school expelled him. He became the guy who didn't fit in. One of his friend's mothers told her son not to meet Min-soo anymore. Nobody seemed willing to help him. Even though he tried to fix things, he felt like he'd missed too much. His other relatives abandoned him. He was a nuisance to his parents. His uncle blamed him for his father's death. No one wanted him. His cousin told him to change if he wanted better treatment. They blamed him for their family's bankruptcy. Min-soo had no place to stay and no food to eat. He slept on benches and sidewalks. Min-soo didn't have money either, but Min-soo lacked more than money. He had no family, no degree, no social life. He questioned if this was a terrible nightmare that would end. He remembered saving many lives in another world, but now he felt deserted. Tears welled up as he thought about it. He bumped into a bulky man on the street. The man didn't mean to hurt him, but when Min-soo asked why they weren't sad, something snapped. The hero in him turned into a demon. Min-soo wanted everyone to feel his sadness. He wouldn't stop until everyone was as sad as he was. The bulky man was about to hit him, but Min-soo summoned his sword and attacked. The man was torn apart. Min-soo believed he deserved to be rewarded as a hero. He swung his sword, causing destruction. He didn't care about innocent lives. Before we continue, take a moment to answer the question of the day. What's your favorite isekai piece of media? Comment down below for a chance to be shouted out. Now back to the recap. 3 weeks later, his rampage continued. People thought about the world ending. Nuclear war, natural disasters, zombies. It didn't matter how, as long as the chaos stopped. One family decides to flee the province for safety precautions. However, the little girl is worried because they left their father behind. Her older brother assures her that their dad will meet them once they get to their destination. However, that assurance will slowly fade as one of the officers announces that Min-soo, or now the hero, is on his trail and has come extremely close. They don't have much time to spare, meaning they must now continue travelling on foot. Everyone leaves their vehicles and starts to walk. A few minutes later, the worst fear has finally come. Min-soo crushes the officer's body to death, making everyone panic. The world now will meet its end not by demon or villain, but a hero. Everyone is now running as fast as they can in hopes of saving their lives, including the family we saw earlier. The little girl, whose name starts to feel exhausted with all the running, which is why her young brother decides to carry her. Meanwhile, seeing the gruesome view from above the overpass, Minsu starts calling the people disgusting as they struggle to get away alive. He decides to kill them in a flash. As everyone rushes to save their lives, his sister's doll accidentally slips from her hand. Her young brother rushes to get it back. As he bends down to get the doll, with one swing of his sword, Minsu annihilates everyone else. When Dabin's brother starts to look for her and their mum, all he witnesses is a devastating pool of blood and guts everywhere. He cries for his loss, and from behind Minsu watches him. Minsu commends him for his beautiful eyes. Then the boy asks him if he is the hero everyone is talking about. Instead of answering, Minsu confuses the boy even more when he states that those teary eyes belong to someone who has lost everything, and they look just like his eyes. Eyes without hopes and dreams. However irritated and frustrated, the boy shouts as he asks Minsu the same question again. When Minsu states yes, the boy gets up and without fear declares that he will kill Minsu no matter what. He rushes towards him, and Minsu grabs him by the throat as the boy's tears flood from his eyes. Minsu's sword struck with a sharpness that made the boy's heart race. As pain shot through him, he wondered if this was the end. Apologies tumbled from his lips, aimed at his family and loved ones. His eyes grew heavy, like curtains closing on a final scene. In the midst of his fading consciousness, a little girl's voice broke through, chanting, "Hero, hero, hero." The boy found himself in a different world. He had become a hero, just like that. Time whisked by, and a year later the government crumbled, echoing Minsu's fate. Those who had vanished during that time emerged as heroes, much like him. The lands were divided among the 9 conquerors, save for Minsu, setting the stage for the world we know now. On Jeju Island, in the territory of the Golem hero, fear gripped the people. They lived in the shadow of death, afraid to attract its gaze. Among them, 2 girls held opposing desires. One longed for a swift end, while the other clung to the will to live. But their grim reality took an unexpected twist. A hand, living and breathing, roused the girls from their thoughts. It was time to work. Urgency filled the air as tasks awaited completion. Among the crowd emerged Seunggu Jon, the hero of Golem. He declared the day's tasks: women to gather food, men to build. Yet the people's spirits didn't match this ambitious agenda. Jean, sensing their reluctance, reminded them of worse fates under vampires or faith heroes. He painted a grim picture of blood tribute, religious zealotry, and cruel experiments. But as his doubts grew, a single gesture from Jean changed everything. Panic erupted, and people fled for their lives, a terror-induced stampede. In the midst of this chaos, a voice of reason boomed. The survivors were commanded to work, and they complied. At the farm, a girl named Somin, harboring a desire for death, faced her guilt over a friend's demise. Nearby, a soldier appeared, pleading for food to rejuvenate his comrades for another fight against the heroes. Somin decided to rebel and gather food for everyone, but when she reached the shore, she was greeted only by a soldier's lifeless body. Jean's presence made her stomach churn with fear. The shadow of impending doom loomed over her. Jean then revealed a chilling truth. He wasn't the only one watching. Countless eyes hid above the clouds, puppeteering the lives below. As the jaws of death yawned wider, Somin's desperate cry pierced the air. A luminous figure answered, descending from the heavens. This unexpected saviour shocked everyone. Jong-soo Park, the true hero, had returned. Jong-soo Park urged Somin to explain, his voice cold and resolute. Learning that John was part of the malevolent sword heroes group ignited a fire in Jong-soo Park's heart. He charged forward, annihilating golems in his path. Finally facing John, Jong-soo Park unleashed fury upon him. Limbs fell like sacrifices to justice. Jong-soo Park demanded answers, but John seized the chance to escape, his golems whisking him away. A flashback unveiled John's past, abandoned and embittered. Revenge now guided his every move, a desire for control and suffering. But Jong-soo Park stood against this malevolence, their clash echoing with resolve. John's premium flower clashed with Jong-soo Park's electrified spears, intensifying their battle. The arena crackled with energy as lightning pierced John's heart, a fatal blow marking his downfall. He who had shattered Jeju Island and the UN fleet met his end. In another realm, those whom John had once aided prayed for his redemption and happiness. Little did they know, the total opposite had happened. The golem hero had died, and with his death, the golems that controlled the castle from within also fell with him. This meant that it was the first time this island was at peace since the hero's rampage. The people were delighted to hear the wonderful news. Behind the trees lurked Jong-soo Park, happy to see families getting back together. But as he remembered those moments with his own family, envy crept in for others' happiness. Then, A subtle rattling sound caught Jong-soo Park's attention. It was just Somin passing by. Jong-soo Park asked her why she was hiding in the bushes. She explained that everyone wanted to know who had slain the golem hero, and she wanted him to go with her. But Jong-soo Park disagreed, saying that a hero killing another hero would just revive people's fear. He added that he didn't care about gaining fame, showing his kindness. This made Somin smile, moved by Jong-soo Park's character. Jong-soo Park told her they'd never see each other again, but she persisted. She asked if Jong-soo Park planned to kill all the heroes. He firmly answered yes, especially the sword hero's allies. Somin offered to help, driven by revenge. Jong-soo Park remained skeptical. Despite knowing she might be considered a burden, she begged to join. She'd guide him and provide everything he needed. Jong-soo Park asked why, and she explained her sorrow for her lost family, anger towards the evil heroes, and concern for the world. She needed his guidance. What will happen next? Find out next time by staying tuned for our future recaps. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more great recaps.